So, Peter Richardson, how long have you been running the VERL for now?
I think we got the grant to run the VERL about 4 years ago, and it's in its final year now.
What is the VERL?
VERL, Visual Effects Research Lab is what it is. The Visual Effects Research Lab is it's basically a room full of computers, but what it's really about is the creativity of the people that operate the computers. And what we do is we look at the technologies that surround the film and TV industry, in particular compositing and animation technologies, and we try and think of new ways to deploy that, new routes to be able to make a film cheaper because of the way the post-production operates, or to make it better in some way by altering the workflow so that we can make projects with more people in the post-production zone. So, for instance, we've just completed 2 films in collaboration with Screen South that are part of the Innovation Shorts programme, and what VERL did there, we did all the post-production, so we developed and built the CGI characters and we composited them into the shots. So the story of the film is of a robot that is invented in a lab by some mad professors, and the robot realises it's been prepared to be a soldier and it rebels against the professors. Now obviously the professors are all live action real people, and the robots we've invented and built in the Visual Effects Research Lab. So we've composited, which means putting in the characters, developing and building the characters and popping them in the scene. So you've got an actor who's acting to a piece of green screen, or an actor who's talking to no one, because what they're really doing is having a conversation with a robot that hasn't been built because it's built in post-production.
Did you film on location at all for any of the projects?
Yeah, the projects had separate directors and production teams, but the Visual Effects Research Lab supervised on set. So what that means is that we actually go to the set and we make sure that the way that the director has envisaged the scene is workable, and that anything that happens, any decisions that are made outside of the planning procedure, so when you're actually on set things may change. If those changes do happen, we make sure that it doesn't have an effect on the visual effects, so that when you have an actor talking to a blank space that will become a character, our main priority is to make sure there's enough space in the set to do that, and that any camera moves or anything are well envisaged so that we can easily do the post-production when we get back to the lab.
Why did you want to set up the VERL?
Why did we set it up? Wow. I think the real reason was that we felt that visual effects in Scotland, in particular in the North Sea region, were represented quite well with small companies. But because the way that they operate is, obviously they need to make profit, there was an opening for a publicly funded laboratory that would be able to carry out, do the R&D, the research and development that maybe the small companies can't afford to do, and also to get involved with projects that are smaller scale, so we bring value to projects that maybe wouldn't have been able to have some visual effects as part of their package. So because of the way the lab operates and the skill set that we've got, we can offer small productions that probably wouldn't be able to afford visual effects. It means that they can afford visual effects.
How did you get into the business in the first place?
Like everything else, I'm very lucky. You know, I think I went to art school to begin with, and whilst I was there, I met the guys who were just students, and they were forming a band, and the band became Blur, and I did some video work for Blur, and then I spent 14 years making music videos and commercials in London, and now I'm working at the Visual Effects Research Lab, which is part of the University of Dundee, and we're carrying on that legacy of making films and making films more available to more people.
What was one of the highlights in terms of the career you had before doing the VERL? What's one of the things that's most memorable for you?
Wow, God, most memorable. I think not one particular project, but just working across the world with so many different people. You know, travelling to the Caribbean to do a shoot and meeting crews from the Caribbean, and having to get up to speed really quickly and make good work with people you've never met before. That was very thrilling and at the same time quite frightening. And I think getting out from Soho, which is where we were based, and into all over the world. That was the biggest highlight, the travel, I think, that we did.
Okay, last question. You're in a building and it's on fire. It's only you, there's no friends, family or anybody else to save. What's the one thing you'd take with you and why?
Fire extinguisher.
Peter,
drop that one on me.
yeah. Peter Richardson, thank you very much.
My pleasure, thank you.